25 years of media excellence. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In this edition, Treats Minister tells Parliament he cannot provide list of companies that have benefited from 1.7 billion Ghana cedi package under the One District, One Factory program. The minority says the figures are cooked.
I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of the financial institutions who have provided the funding to the beneficiary companies.
Tonight, Electoral Commission fights off claims of procurement breaches by Imani Africa in the award of contract to new vendor as it remains resolute in its quest to compile a new voters register in spite of stiff opposition.
The Commission doesn't want to risk going to 2020 with that same type of equipment. Yes, the Commission is ready to go ahead with a fresh registration of voters.
Meanwhile, the Progressive People's Party is calling for the immediate cancellation of the new voters register over fears of a possible spread of the deadly COVID-19 during the registration period. We'll also hear from a former commissioner who is describing the lack of consensus as unfortunate.
We are not being truthful to ourselves. One side is not listening to the other side. I would have wished that the attempt at getting total consensus would have succeeded. But if up to now is still going on, it's unfortunate.
And in business, Talora records a $1.6 billion loss for last year as it announces some drastic measures to turn around the company.
Footballer Biadini, who played against Emmanuel Ajmanbedu's side Hellas Verona in a Serie A game for an hour, has tested positive for coronavirus. The outbreak keeps affecting sporting events. Join me in 54 details.
And then also here later on Newsnight, Multimedia Group launches flagship election-focused programming, election headquarters to reinforce its place as a leader in election coverage in Ghana.
Right now I'm fed up. They would promise us to offer us, they did not.
With a tracker, which is mainly sitting on the morning show, we're going to track every promise you make, not only what you write down in the manifesto. All the details from today's launch, you want to stay with us for that. And on the flip side later, a special song composed by a gas cooker seller admonishing the Ghanaian electorates to vote wisely. Well, a special song we got today as we launched your election headquarters. We have details of that and more here on Newsnight. Send us your thoughts, 0244343437. Newsnight is brought to you by Puma Card from Puma Energy, cash-free convenience. My name is Mensah.
I am Emefa Apawu. And we start off from Parliament, where the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Tremantain, told the House he cannot provide to them the list of companies that have benefited from incentives under the One District, One Factory program. The minister says 1.7 billion Ghana cedis have been disbursed to about 172 companies over the last 3 years. Correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo has returned from Parliament. He joins us in studio with more on this. Joseph, specifically, what are the details of the stimulus package that the minister says has been provided to these companies?
So the figure he gave and 172 companies in question, he says that the amounts have been disbursed through a number of financial institutions that the ministry is working with. There are 13 such financial institutions, including the Ghana Export and Import Bank, as well as Societe Generale, Cal Bank, Fidelity Bank, and a number of others, EcoBank and all that part of it. Now he says that specifically from the ministry to these 13 financial institutions, an amount of 191.5 million Ghana cedis is what the ministry has given to them as part of the 1D, 1F initiative. Then he explained that using that 191.5 million, the financial institutions have been able to leverage an amount of 2.3 billion in order to support the initiative. And out of that, the 1.7 billion is what has been disbursed to the 172 companies. The Kumbungu MP Mubarak, who asked the question on the floor, demanded the specific list of the companies, but the minister says this is something between the beneficiaries and the banks, and he can't give those details because it's their own transactions.
Who are the beneficiaries? Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member may respectfully read carefully the text of the answer provided, you realize that the Ministry of Trade has provided support to the 172 companies in collaboration with participating financial institutions. Now, the participating financial institutions have a fiduciary relationship with the loan beneficiaries for which interest subsidies or counterpart financing has been provided. So, Right Honourable Speaker, against this background, I am not authorized to speak on behalf of the financial institutions who have provided the funding to the beneficiary companies.
So, Joseph, just clarify this for me. So, according to what the minister has been saying in Parliament, the transactions are private between the banks and these companies. But how then do we get to account for the monies that we spend?
There was a specific question about whether the institutions eventually report to the ministry on the monies that has been disbursed, and his response was that yes, eventually they report to the ministry. There was also a question about whether the ministry has any role at all in terms of those who eventually benefit, and he said those who are applying for the said amounts actually apply to the ministry, so he can provide the list of those who have applied, but in terms of those who benefited, that is something that he cannot go ahead and provide for Parliament.
And this certainly drew reactions from the minority especially.
Ras Mubarak thinks the reason why they are not giving these details is because the government has actually inflated the figures in terms of the beneficiaries and how much is being invested. He actually asked the question on the floor, and he says he was dissatisfied with the response that came.
We saw the exchanges in the chamber. I asked him repeatedly to give us a list, and he fumbled. For me, his attempt
to justify that this is an agreement between the beneficiaries and the bank.
No, it's not justified, but they are excited to go around the country touting 1D, 1F as a success story. They are excited to point at factories that are supposedly 1DF, 1F factories, but he can't tell the people's representatives, a list of these factories. So clearly you see some level of disingenuity, in the responses to the questions, which is very unfortunate, because this is one of the projects they have touted as a success story. We want accountability. If you are saying to the people of Ghana that you've disbursed 1.7 billion cedis through 13 banks and institutions, you should be able to tell the people of Ghana through their representatives who the 172 beneficiaries are.
Why do you think the minister is hesitant?
We, from where we sit, do not see as much success in the 1D1F project as they want the people of Ghana to believe. So they may have padded the numbers. They may have said things to Ghanaians that clearly, if they were to put out a list with names of companies and individuals, we could easily verify. The minister is accountable to the people's representatives.
So that's the Kumbungu MP, Ras Mubarak. Let's stay a while longer in Parliament, Evans.
Well, in Parliament still, the Adansi Asokwa MP Katie Hammond has called the bluff of the Ashanti Regional Youth Wing of the party, which is threatening to campaign against him in the upcoming MPP primaries. Katie Hammond recently took on Regional Chairman Bernard Boisiako, aka Wuntumi, for supporting his contender in the upcoming primaries.
And now we are who say darling boy of the president in the champion Ashanti party or by Ashanti. We have seen better chairmen like Anto. He is not the only chair. Said we are there. We are Jamai. The party are disqualified. I will fight him. I will take this matter to every level. I've always said, media who qualify, come and contest me. But yes, I won't qualify. 20 years now, we don't know the guy there, and then you decide Addison. Philip Addison, has been disqualified. This boy, then Kibosi, me, and over the head of all those who were there, mark out to him.
Now, the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the party, Dennis Kwakwa, in a statement served notice the youth wing will launch a campaign in the Adansia Sukwa constituency to ensure he does not survive the primaries. But Katie Hammond says he's just a boy of the regional chairman and does not represent the entire youth wing in the region.
I don't know a youth wing. I hear that Dennis Kwakwa, it's a personal something to the Ashanti Regional Chairman himself. I don't know who he is. What I actually want to put on record is that I think he misread whatever he may have read. I've never, and I put it on record, that I have not at any stage called Mr. Nkubu Siako a boy. Obviously, there's a difficulty here, a lack of appreciation of some of the things I say.
But you said you take him on, and you made the point that the NPP in Ashanti region, and particularly the Ansar Soka, doesn't belong to him, and that you are going to take on.
Well, no, as I said, I've made my point, so we're not going to reiterate. It's rather those people you're talking about. Again, now I talk about boys, because I think those are the boys around him. Dennis Kwakwa or something. I hear that is his personal whatever.
The clear impression it's a whole youth group in the Ashanti region.
I mean, we're talking for now.
You're disputing that they are Chairman Wuntumi's boys.
Dennis, whatever he say, I don't know the youth wing that he represents. For the purpose of what we are talking about, it is the youth of Azoka which matters.
Yes. But what do you make of the threat by Dennis and those he says in his group that they would ensure that you don't retain
but retaining my seat, what you have done for the last 20 years always been in the hands of the Almighty Allah. It is not in the hands of Dennis, whoever his name is, to determine my political fate. No, he absolutely has got no control over my destiny. He says he will destroy me. Mine is not important, but he will destroy the MPP of Adansia Soko too. If we lose the constituency, it is not the first constituency we would have lost. I wish him luck. I mean, let them do their worst.
But especially if the chairman in Ashanti himself has machinations against you allegedly,
yes,
then that slims your chances.
But I've told you that my destiny, political or otherwise, is not in anybody's hands. In any way, they don't vote. These people don't vote in our soccer constituencies. So people go around.
Since it became a big issue, have you made peace with Chairman? You know the comment you made 3 days. Have you made peace with Chairman?
I don't know about it becoming a big issue.
Well, do you have the chairman's support?
Which chairman
wants me support?
Do I need chairman's want to me support? I don't get what you're talking about. What is it? Chairman want to me doesn't vote in soccer. He doesn't vote, so I don't quite get to the point. Which one is that?
So for you, make a difference even if he's not supporting.
And of course, this is Joy 99.7 FM, your election headquarters. And we are, of course, building up to the first major event this year, which is the NPP primary, which is generating a lot of heat. 25th April on your election headquarters, which is now well and truly in flight after today's launch. We'll bring you details of that launch shortly, but still on all issues elections here on your election headquarters. The Electoral Commission is tonight fighting off claims that it breached procurement laws in the award of a contract to Thales, the new vendor expected to supply biometric kits for the compilation of the proposed new register.
Now, Imani Africa, among other things, alleged that the election governing body rigged the tender process in favor of Thales, a company with reputational issues. We'll hear from the commission shortly, but first, listen to Vice President of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons, make the point again on PM Express last night.
If you take the $74 million figure, you have to ask what goes into that. Why are they saying it's going to cost $74 million to refresh the system? They are making the assumption, they are making the determination based on the assumption that every single equipment has to go. Every single equipment has to be refreshed anew.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense because, as you've explained, they've continued to do refreshments every cycle, and therefore a lot of the equipment they have are very new. The reason why they are very new is not only because they were bought in 2018. When you're doing your life cycle analysis, when you're doing your technology portfolio optimization analysis, one of the things you look at is wear and tear. Right? You say, how often has it been used? What is it used for? Etc. etc. These are equipment that often they are used for maybe 40 days in a year. We have DVDs that have never been used because we always buy more. We have an excess margin. We buy about 72,000 of this stuff. So you don't have to replace everything and you don't have to refurbish everything. So you can't get it to 74 million in the first place. Secondly, who did you go and talk to? They said they talked to STL. But STL was sacked in December 2018. And then since then, you've been managing this yourself. Why did you not go to the original manufacturers of the equipment and try and get a proper validated quotation? So first of all, that $74 million makes no sense, right? Because you don't have to do everything all over again, given what we've described. And then two, you are not going to the right people to ask. The second point is that, as far as limited registration is concerned, the EC just lied blatantly about how much it costs to actually do limited registration. So we're going to look at the numbers. And it costs less than $20 million. And so when you add what it will actually cost to do a limited registration, it's not too difficult to know that registering 2 million people will be much cheaper than registering 17 million people. So if you combine those, you get the true costs of using the existing system at about $35 million compared to the $72 million that they discovered in their tender process, not the $56 million that they pulled out from there, but the $72 million that they actually got when they actually did a tender. That tells you something fundamentally important, which is that this EC, last candor, has very little interest in being truthful and factual to the public, and the media shouldn't allow them to get away with it.
You heard that the Vice President of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons, there, but the Electoral Commission has, in the last few hours, been reacting to some of these allegations that were made by Imani Africa. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins us in the studio. What has been the reaction of the Commission?
Okay, so Emefa, two key issues the Electoral Commission has been responding to now. What they did was that they highlighted the concerns raised by Imani Ghana and answered it. So the first one is Imani alleges that the Electoral Commission within a week dissolved and reconstituted its technical committee working on the procurement process so as to influence the selection of Thales as the company to win the bid to supply the commission, the hardware company. Now, here's the answer from the commission. That's incorrect. The EC's entity tender committee is made up of the 3 executive commissioners, 2 members of parliament from the 2 major parties, and a rep from the Attorney General's department, who is a chief state attorney. Of the 2 MPs, one is the chairman of the board of a leading, highly visible organization that undertakes a lot of procurement, and the other person is a senior lawyer who once served as a deputy attorney general. I find it strange that Imani will issue a report clearly pretending that these individuals who make up the entity tender committee are so ignorant that they don't know what the procurement law is all about. So that is the first answer to the first allegation. Now, it goes on to say, Imani has been churning out some figures. Here's the answer the commission provided. The figures as presented by Imani in the public domain are completely untrue. The hardware is about $54 million and the software far less than what Imani has put out in the public domain. The hardware is 54, contrary to 56 we put out earlier, not 72 million. This has been accepted by both parties. The last time the commission purchased registration kits and verification devices was in 2013. And Evans, you called that yesterday when you spoke to Bryce Simon. He made a categorical statement that the last time the EC bought BVDs were in 2018 and not in even 2011. But EC is saying that this happened in 2013. It continues to say, as far as I am concerned, the Commission hasn't violated any laws regarding the procurement of BVMs. We are still on course and ready to serve the interests of the nation. So that is the response from the Electoral Commission. So the Electoral Commission insists that they remain resolute in its quest to compile a new voters register, in spite of all the concerns raised by CSOs and some political players. We can hear from the Deputy Director in charge of research at the Electoral Commission, Fred Tete.
Yes, the Commission is ready to go ahead with a fresh registration of voters. If you could recall, this is not the first time we've done registration in an election year. In the first registration that we did was in 1995 for the 1996 election, but not in the same year. But after that, if you could remember, the year 2004, we did fresh registration in that same 2004. And then in 2012, we did fresh registration in 2012 for the general elections. So going forward, the Commission, as you are aware, and as it has been going on, we've engaged our stakeholders and we are prepared for a new voters register.
Not even the comments from this woman who says, why don't you just let it go, we'll change it. Nothing will change that plan?
Yes, nothing will change the plan because we've come clear on the air, on many platforms. We've explained ourselves. We've given justification why we should go for a new voters register, and in other words, a new voter management system. New voter management system, because the kind of equipment that we are using now, the BVRs and the BVDs, are the end of life. They are failing off. The equipment, we've been able to cannibalize a lot of them to use for the 2019 assembly elections. The commission doesn't want to risk going to 2020 with that same type of equipment.
Well, you had that Fred Tete. He's in charge of research, director of research at the Electoral Commission.
Well, there's a very interesting statement that the Progressive People's Party has issued tonight about the voters register, and they have a very interesting take on it. Their position is simply that the EC should backtrack on its desire to compile a new voters register, but the reason is because of coronavirus. Let's bring in the Director of Communication for the PPP, Park Akon, who joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, Mr. Akon, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
What has coronavirus got to do with the voters register?
Well, beyond the economic consideration, the PPP has already made public in respect of the potential loss this compilation of register is going to cause the nation, of which Imani has also made known of about $150 million. We believe that the health aspect ought to be considered as well. We know as of today, a research from the Johns Hopkins University indicates that about 125,000 people have been infected in more than 80 countries as we speak today. And so we are not sure of who has the virus. And we know that our neighboring countries is being confirmed in our neighboring countries. So we ought to be mindful of the potential damage this virus could have on our economy. And so all we are saying is that if you look at the guideline from the World Health Organization, which has advised many countries to ensure that people do not congregate as means of spreading the virus. We know that if the Electoral Commission decides to compile a new register, there is a possibility of people coming together. People are likely to shake hands. People are likely to touch each other, and so on and so forth.
But that guideline is for countries with coronavirus cases. Ghana, we are not on that list.
But you see, Evans, you know, we keep deceiving ourselves. We keep deceiving us. We know that we have porous borders. There are people who enter into these countries not from the known approved route. Every second, somebody is entering Ghana. Somebody is leaving Ghana.
You're almost saying to me that you are certain that by April, whatever time the EC starts this, the coronavirus will be here. Until then,
here, we know. Evans, if it's here, how do we know? We know about the state of our health system. Many people think that Ghana is solely about Accra. I mean, go to the rural areas. Many places, they don't even have health facilities. And so if people have contracted the virus already in this country, you and I cannot confirm that. So all we are saying is that let us take precautionary measure. Let us not wait for a big man to be confirmed.
So you're saying that the solution is cancel the voters register compilation initiative altogether to deal as a measure in dealing with the coronavirus threat. That's PPP's position on this particular matter. What do you make of that, though? I want to hear from you. 0244340437.
It's still your election headquarters here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, a former commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Dr. David Kanga, has described as unfortunate the current rancor between the Electoral Commission and its stakeholders following the decision to compile a new voters register ahead of the 2020 polls. He starts by commending the multimedia group for the launch of the election headquarters in this exclusive interview with Joy News. Listen.
The role that you will be playing is very, very crucial. You need to be extremely careful and avoid anything that will bring ambiguity, that will promote disagreements. You shouldn't allow your platform to be turned into a platform of litigation and all that. We need total cooperation, collaboration, and we should use your platform to develop confidence and trust in the system, the electoral system, so that at the end of the day, we should all be able to say, this is our own.
You mentioned that as a platform, we should help build confidence in the electoral system. You have been at the helm of affairs, should I say. As it stands now, do you have confidence in the electoral system that we have?
That is a judgment I wouldn't like to make, because as soon as I do that, it will maybe trigger something else. But I believe that it is possible. It's absolutely possible for us to continue to have the people of this country to have the trust and confidence in the system. And if we work together, it should be the case. We are not being, maybe should I say, truthful to ourselves. One side is not listening to the other side carefully. I mean, the Electoral Commission on one side, the other side being those of us, whether were political parties or NGOs or what. I would have wished that the attempts at getting total consensus would have succeeded. But if up to now it's still going on, it's unfortunate.
Is it
And
healthy?
that may rather be pointing to the lack of total confidence in the system.
You may not be in touch with the system as we speak. Neither have you been consulted for any advice. But you've monitored events. Currently, we have just a few months to go for election 2020. And there are still issues that people have with the Electoral Commission. I've cited CSOs and not just those in the political scene. Considering the posturing of the Electoral Commission as against that of those who have also questioned decisions that the Electoral Commission may seem to have taken or are taking, if you were in the position to advise the Electoral Commission, what exactly will you be considering what you have monitored so far?
I'm hesitant to do that. I have my own reasons, but I do not want to air them.
Why is that?
Just because, elections, they are very delicate matters, and the issues you are talking about are delicate. Just a bit of misunderstanding can create more confusion. So I'd rather not say what I feel or my monitoring has revealed to me. It's not good, but I just don't want to get involved. The only thing I like, I think I can say this one. We should be careful not to think that the job can be done by any other person. It should be done by us Ghanaians and not by anybody, human beings, machines, whatever. We could do this work without machines and those other things. They only help, but they don't take over the work. Those of us who are competing need to do our work seriously. Those who are not competing, those who are managing, all of us, we should do our work with sincerity, dedication. And let us, when we do that, I have no doubt that we will deliver credible elections. We used to say that, and I think I remember that very well. We used to say that, and that time people didn't like that statement. But I think now, on hindsight, they will say, oh yeah, there was truth in it. We used to say that the transparency of the election did not lie in the transparency of the ballot box.
And that's a former commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Dr. David Kanga. He was deputy to Dr. Afari Jan. Is your election headquarters here on Joy 99.7 FM. And when we return from business, I'll tell you about the big launch today to reinforce our place as the leader in election coverage in Ghana.
Right now I'm fed up. What they would promise us to offer us, they did not.
With a tracker, which is mainly sitting on the morning show, we're going to track every promise you make, not only what you write down in the manifesto.
That's coming up, all about that big launch today after business. And George Riafe is here with a very
It was great and refreshing this morning, actually. The discussions, your intro on TV, it was something else. And those shots from the skies, you know.
I mean the drone
shots. Like, you know, it was something else. And how you mixed it while people were even talking, and then the guests were all talking, and then you were mixing that.
We went around the country.
TV was spectacular.
And we'll roll out all the programs shortly. We'll tell you
just
all about it.
Taste of what you should expect.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea.
The masters in the game.
Of course.
Avatars.
Well, coming up in business, Saloya records $1.6 billion loss for last year as it announces drastic measures to turn around the company. Meanwhile, 35% workforce are to be retrained to create a more efficient organization. And Bank of Ghana forecasts some exciting times for the banking sector after they posted strong earnings for last year. We're hearing from the Bank of Ghana on what is actually underpinning this forecast. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. First National Bank. We are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank. How can we help you? And it has been 25 years of joy and providing the platform to supporting and growing budding entrepreneurs out there.
My family loves visiting me. Because I've got the super reliable and super fast 4G plus MTN Turbonet.
Everything is downloading so
And
fast.
with this super fast MTN Turbonet, it's non-stop fun and entertainment for the whole family at my house. Wow, I finally
Grandma, this is so amazing.
Connect your home and entertain your family at the speed of yellow. Get an MTN Turbonet today and stay connected to the things that matter most. Only on Ghana's fastest network. Dial *5057# to purchase an internet bundle today. We day for you everywhere you go.
Mr. Barr has big dreams for his business, Barr & Co. Limited, and his family, making them a reality man to long drives and queues. He's lost precious time struggling to pay his suppliers in China, Turkey, India, and other parts of the world. With the First National Bank global payment via our online banking enterprise, he now pays for all that in the convenience of his home or office, giving him time to focus on family and growing his business. Use our online banking enterprise to access Forex when you need it. It takes a bank that does more to help your family. So who's helping yours? First National Bank. How can we help you?
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on News. Now, oil exploration firm Tullow ended last year recorded one of its biggest loss after tax in recent times. The company posted $1.6 billion loss for 2019. Now, this was contained in its full financial results for last year, which was released today. We have details on these results and some drastic measures being undertaken by the company to put the organization back on track. The following Business Desk report.
Tullow in the financial statements attributed the loss after tax to some exploration write-off and impairment totaling $2 billion. Sales revenue also fell by almost 10% to reach $1.68 billion. Despite this challenging result, Tullow Oil recorded a total revenue of $1.6 billion, while average production stood at around $86.8 thousand a barrel. Also, gross profit stood at $759 million. The board, as a result of this difficulty, is suspending dividend payments, hoping to use the money to reinvest in the business. Tullow recently reinstated dividend payment for 2018 after a long break. So what is Tullow doing to really turn around the business? According to the financial results, it is planning to cut 35% of the workforce, which would hit staff in Ghana. Joy Business understands that some of the workers in Ghana have already taken their packages and gone home. It is also planning to lower its capital expenditure for this year. Talo has also disclosed that it plans centralizing production and subsurface management in London. However, day-by-day running of the business would be done from Ghana. It has also announced the appointment of new Chief Operating Officer Mark McFarlane, as well as a new exploration head to champion moves for reconstruction. On the Jubilee gas flaring, Talo says it is working with government to increase gas offtake and improve production at both Jubilee and 10.
And that was a Business Desk report. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers says it backs the stance of the oil marketing companies who are being forced on prices certain margin. Now, the Association of Oil Marketing Companies at a press conference today rejected the proposed 15% reduction that had been put out by the National Petroleum Authority Board that has been projected. According to the oil firms, the current price deregulation policy bars any regulatory intervention on setting these prices. Let's hear from Duncan Amwa, that is the Executive Secretary of the Chamber, who has been sharing his thoughts on Business Live on the Joy News channel on Multi TV.
What happens now is that if somebody even did 13% on Monday, we would go after the person. If somebody did 8 or 12 or 20%, we would say this is not what the regulator had indicated. And so I would rather want to hasten and wait till the second window commences Monday. We will do a quick market scan, check our prices, and see how much they were able to review for. Subsequent to which, we are going to still push and say, look, if there are other reductions that we deserve, do your boardroom meetings, do your math, and let us have it. But for anyone to say a flat 15 in a deregulated market, that would be quite problematic. But again, let me reiterate, prices are going to go down effective the second window this month, which is from Monday onward. But I cannot put a figure directly to whether we will get the 10 that we had initially requested. As to discussing real figures at this point, I think the NPA would also need to hasten slowly.
And that's the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwan. Now, the Bank of Ghana is forecasting some exciting times for commercial banks in the country. Now, this was after they posted some strong earnings for 2019. We have more on this in the following Business Desk report.
The Bank of Ghana is basing its forecast on the full completion of the banking sector, which is already impacting positively on earnings and financial soundness of commercial banks. The regulator in the banking sector report argues that commercial banks saw some significant improvements in most areas of the operations, including profits, deposits, assets, revenue, capital adequacy ratio, and liquidity, because of some actions taken by the central bank. It believes all these developments wouldn't have happened if the necessary cleanup had not taken place. According to the Bank of Ghana, the sector is now well positioned to undertake efficient financial intermediation to support growth in the Ghanaian economy. This should mean that we should expect some improved credit delivery to businesses going forward. The central bank also believes the commercial banks are now in a better position to aid the expansion of the economy.
That has been Joy Business Report. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are an investor or a shareholder of Car Bank today, you lost 6 pesos to close at 92 pesos per share being held by any investor out. And that's all for business on Newsnight and your election headquarters.
And the die is cast. In the coming weeks, your most credible news source, Joy News, will be rolling out a series of election-focused programs as part of our grand plan to deliver comprehensive coverage before, during, and after the December 2020 polls.
From the young to the old, the elite to the average person, there is something for everyone. Here's a recap of what you probably missed, plus why Joy News is your choice network for all things elections this year. Of course, this year, this is your election headquarters. What does this mean? We therefore project it is almost statistically impossible for presidents to achieve 50% plus one.
2016, Joy News delivered to its audiences what many describe as unrivaled election coverage. And it is not for nothing that the network has become the reference point for all things election coverage. Of course, your election headquarters. With 9 months to the December 2020 polls, Joy News is at it again, launching an elaborate coverage plan, fresh programming content, revitalized people-driven shows, and of course, a competent team. Head of Political Desk Evans Mensah speaks about some of the new shows expected to be rolled out in the coming weeks as part of a 2020 coverage.
This time, we're not going to hold you only to the text of your manifesto. Okay. We're also going to hold you to what you say on political platforms. So we say this year, with a tracker, which is mainly sitting on the morning show, we're going to track every promise you make, not only what you write down in a manifesto.
Building an informed electorate, the theme for this year's election headquarters, seeks to help the voter make decisions from a position of knowledge. The new show, The Verdict, will be key.
This is where journalists, among ourselves, come on a platform, look at all the campaign-related issues. We will analyze it, we will pronounce a verdict on it in the end, ourselves. It's our opinion, but it will be informed opinion. You are allowed to disagree with us, and that is why another element in there will be a significant social media polling. Let's see whether your verdict agrees with our verdict.
2 shows from the election year 2016 are back, revitalized and even more engaging. With partnership from the Star Ghana Foundation, Ballot Box will be with you. Here is Programs Director of the Foundation, Ibrahim Tanko, when he was asked why the foundation came on board this time.
They say that a good thing sells itself. Multimedia has stood out over the years in terms of the quality of its coverage of the elections, but also the provision of opportunities for people who have otherwise been excluded from the dialogue to have a say, to participate actively in the conversations leading up to the elections. They didn't have any reservations at all.
Well, for the young and trendy, you have not been left out. Elections, as much as it matters to the old, matters to you. Ahead of the election, both the governing New Patriotic Party and the main opposition National Democratic Congress have their own pitches to win the votes of the people. Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma, who was at the event, speaks about the success story of the Akufo-Addo administration.
If in President Mahamad's time, the rate at which goods and services were increasing in terms of price was 15.3% at the time he was leaving, and today in President Akufo-Addo's time, it has come down to 7.8%. What it means is that the rate at which it is going up has dropped from 15% to 7%. But it shows that one is a better manager of the economy than the other.
But that was countered by NDC's Director of Communications, Kakra Esamwa, who is unimpressed.
Nobody in this world buys food for the person who is dead. We only deal with today. Some people have been saying in my language, 2016 is gone. We are in 2020. Now we know what Akufo-Addo can do. He has been such a terrible disappointment and failure.
But the verdict is in the hands of the voter. Here are some of the voices from Kantamanto, one of Accra's biggest markets.
Right now we are fed up because they will come today, they will say, I'll give you hay. But tomorrow it's not that. What they would promise us to offer us, they did not. But now, I don't know, this 2020, I'll just queue the line and go and vote.
Mean you will not vote?
No, because I've had enough.
Last time I first said, what your ticket 50 pesos. Biana, I want 1 city 50 pesos. Recently, I announced Akababa income tax. Ghanaian women, we are suffering. Market women.
The team, as always, is poised to deliver to you unrivaled election coverage, and of course, with the most competent team on radio, television, and online on your election headquarters.
Also represented today at the launch and at the Accra Central Business District, the forecourt of the AMA building, there was the police administration. They came in numbers as well. The top hierarchy, they're battle ready for December 2020. Director of Police Operations, DCOP, Saibu Gariba, told Winston they will deliver an election devoid of violence.
I can assure you that when we go back to history, the Ghana Police Service, assisted by security agencies, have policed elections in this country. And so far, it has been successful. And therefore, 2020 election is not different. We're going to also police that election with all the might that we have in this country. And I will be robust, and then we'll be ruthless as far as 2020 election is concerned.
What plans do you have to deal with vigilantism ahead of the elections?
There is actually a legislation that has been enacted by Parliament that is in force. And therefore, the police will execute that legislation, including all other laws, and then act in this country that the police actually execute.
There is always that fear, and there's always been that perception among Ghanaians that when it comes to dealing with vigilantism, the police in many of the instances is handicapped because the political elite get to control these things. What are you going to do differently to ensure that this time around the political elite doesn't tie the hands of the police?
Let me assure you that in our planning, in our processes, and in our strategy for elections and every security that we do, we are not looking at any political party. The police service is not a political organization as far as election security and the security of the state is concerned. Whatever the case, we are doing our work according to our mandate.
And that's the police director of operations who joined us today. There's more on this particular launch. I'm going to bring in your views. Emefa will join me shortly. We'll talk about sports and we'll give you a gist of the actual programming and what to expect. You've heard a bit of that in the wrap, but there's something I quickly need to do. You heard it yesterday, but I'm pretty curious about some of the details of this. A former colleague of ours and current information minister, who again was today at the launch of the election headquarters, yesterday got selected as Ghana's Minister for Information, was selected as the young global leader for 2020 by the World Economic Forum. Guess what? Mr. Ponkruma is on the telephone line with me. Mr. Ponkruma, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening to you and your colleagues.
I've been reading the details of this. I've just had time to sort of read through what this is. And I read that this is not something that you get today, but it's going to last over 5 years. And the selected leaders are expected to use their skills and competence as exceptional people to build the vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change in the world. It doesn't sound as simple as I thought yesterday it is. There's a lot of work involved in this.
It actually sounds a bit scary, as I'm now also getting some more detail on it. But I think it's a challenge and it's a humbling experience for me, because sometimes you're working in your little corner and you don't get to notice that you are being observed from afar. So I take it in my stride, and I look forward to working with many of the other young persons who've been selected to deliver on the challenge that is being put ahead of us over the next 5 years.
Talk about other young people who have been selected by the World Economic Forum. One of them is the Prime Minister of Finland, Sanna Marin. That is at that level. I wonder whether you've already begun conversations already. Is it a competition? I'm just wondering, because you look at the caliber of these, and she's not alone. There's Vice President of Ecuador on that list as well. The Chief Economist, Allianz Germany, Ludovic Sobran is on there as well. Fearful names.
Yes, but the Ghanaian, I believe, also has the ability to offer something on this global stage. In my view, this is an expression of what the Ghanaian young person can do when the world is also looking for people to come together and contribute, in terms of ideas and direction on where some of the global thought leadership conversations should go. So as intimidating as these names may sound to some persons, I believe that the Ghanaian also has something to offer, and will do so on this level when the activities commence.
And whilst I congratulate you, Mr. Ponkruma, do you know how you were selected?
Absolutely no idea how it happened. My understanding is that some persons at the World Economic Forum level, including other YGL past fellows, make nominations, and then they do their background checks and their screening and their monitoring, and then out of that, out of the thousands, then they narrow down on who the about 100 or 100 plus for a given cohort is. So when I received the mail and then subsequently the phone call, it came to me as a surprise initially, but then later as you get the details, you're able to come to terms with it and see the challenge ahead of you and begin to, may I say, act accordingly.
And when does your work begin?
Almost immediately. Because of the current global pandemic, I think the first gathering of the fellows has been suspended, and they will now hopefully when all of this is over, formulate a new date for the first gathering, and then out of that, the various sessions and networking platforms where you can begin to work together and engage and connect with specific persons that you work with over the next 5 years begins to unfold.
And are you going to be paid? And I hope he said yes. And when do I get my cut?
Am I going to be what?
Paid. And I'm hoping it's a yes. Then I'll ask you when I'm getting my cut.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure that there's any payment.
Oh, you're not sure. So it means that it's possible, but
it appears to be service.
Oh, so this is pro bono?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Oh. That's an anticlimax. No, but seriously, congratulations, Kojo.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay, that's Mr. Ponkruma there, former colleague of ours, current information minister, who has been selected by the World Economic Forum, as a young global leader for 2020, rubbing shoulders with the Finland PM, the vice president of Ecuador, and others. Another colleague of mine who has been selected as a sports journalist to read the news tonight. No, sorry. Yeah. Sports reporter to read the news tonight is Benedict. Hello, Benedict.
So we're talking about.
No, but you get paid, so we get paid a lot.
Very well.
So
you're talking to an award-winning journalist.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. What's that?
All right, so
what's in the headlines
you're talking about the effect of coronavirus. Syria Sampdoria, that's Syria side Sampdoria. They've announced that forward Gabbiadini has tested positive for the virus, and he played for an hour in their last Syria game with the Manuel Adman Bidu's side, that's Hellas Verona. And Manchester City's Champions League, one of 16 clash with Real Madrid next week, has been postponed. Also, Chelsea, they cancelled their training this afternoon as a precautionary measure. The Czech FA has announced that they've suspended their schedule due to the coronavirus, and then Cologne's managing director also says they won't send their players away for international duty due to the virus. And Dutch football authorities have also announced a suspension until March 31. So it's been a day of suspension, and Leicester City boss Brendan Rodgers says a few of his squad have shown symptoms of coronavirus and are now self-isolating. And ATP has announced a 6-week suspension of the men's tour taking in all events until end of April. And the Miami Open tennis tournament also has been rescheduled to start later next month. UEFA will hold a meeting via video conference on Tuesday, that's next Tuesday, to discuss European football response to the virus outbreak, and discussions will include all domestic and European competitions including Euro 2020. And La Liga has also taken a decision to postpone their next 2 rounds of fixtures after Real Madrid sent their players home to self-isolate. And all comes after a member of the Royal basketball team tested positive for the virus. And Europa League games are currently ongoing. Your team Manchester United, you are taking on some Tetes Lensk, and Manchester United are leading by a goal to Igalo, scoring the goal. Yes, it's at halftime, and you're leading by a goal to
I'm really excited for Igalo.
Yeah, he's doing quite well.
From a lowly
China,
place in Nigeria,
he was in the English Premier League with Watford, went to China, and then back to England at United on loan for 6 months.
Well.
Now he scored 3 goals. Yeah. It's very, very impressive. I hope they sign him at least a year. After the loan deal.
I've spoken to Edward Ward already. So
well, we'll see how that goes. But Liberty Professionals this afternoon played against Interlight at the Dansuman Park. They lost by 3 goals to 2. Adebayo scored again. There's a Santeko Kotukam that will kick off in about 6 minutes time at the Accra Stadium. They take on Omina Sharks, and Azuma Zoom Nelson, the professor, is to be inducted into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame in August.
Good one. You were today at the launch of the election headquarters.
Absolutely.
I'm curious. One of the things we didn't touch on enough, but it's absolutely important for a country like Ghana, is sports, and what your perspective is on how the various political parties seeking the vote of the electorate. What should be the key issues in sports to focus on this year?
It's always be about infrastructures. Various the facilities, the stadia. You look at the Accra Stadium. Recently, some works were done on the Accra Stadium before the Women's AFCON was renovated. The Babara Stadium currently has been closed down for works. Also, we want to see what they will do about the other venues. That's the Tamale Stadium, as well as the second year, and also the lease finance sports. This is something we always talk about. their participation in international competition is always a major problem. When it comes to the Black Stars, they're able
especially
to
women's football.
When it comes to the Black Stars, they're
football.
able to ditch not less than $500,000, to facilitate their participation in international competitions. What are they going to do about the other sporting disciplines? We talk about swimming, fencing, even boxing. You understand, athletics. Recently, there was a story. There was a story of some athletes, receiving per diems after participating at the World Athletics Championship. These are some of the things we need to highlight for the politicians to know. So when we go to cast our ballot on the day, that's December 7th, of course.
And sports is an important thing for you. You want to look out for
it is.
Who is proposing the real solutions to these problems. Benedict, thank you very much. And this morning we're trending. We trended
most part of the day.
Yeah, most part of the day.
Election HQ.
What surprised me was that pandemic coronavirus was second.
Yeah.
You think that's more, but hashtag election HQ was trending. And a number of you joined us with your thoughts on our launch today.
And Kwame Rasta says this politicians thinks we the civilians are fools. They always look down on us while their family enjoy everything and make we the masses suffer and hustle for a living. They should let their family members vote for them since they enjoyed with them only.
Well, Dakwa Mayor has some good words for you, Emefa. He says, Joy, you are the best. Ghana's BBC. Well, we are Ghana's Ghana.
Ghana's Ghana, yeah. Joy News, we are Joy News. We are at the election headquarters.
Says you're not like those stations that, they support a political party. I'm not sure about that. But thank you very much, Dakwa. This one says, Emperor says, I will definitely cast my vote on how I was deceived as a nurse in training in 2017. That's Emperor sent us that one.
Mr. Ashite says the biggest issue for election 2020 isn't unemployment. It is job creation. Which candidates can offer a better viable proposal to expand the economy and generate many economic opportunities for Ghanaians? And Marek Kofi Ghani, I'm sure the presidential candidate, says if we want to let the voters know they have real power, we should be asking them what they are doing or how they will influence elections in December 2020. For once, voters must stop being influenced and influence the agenda themselves.
Okay, and this one from Emmanuel says, I will vote based on social intervention policies having impact on the Ghanaian, good economic indicators, improvement in agriculture and the industrial sector, weighing the two government as MPP and NDC. Well, it says I give credit to one particular political party, and it says I echo to the election headquarters.
And of course, this voting season, I urge all the older folks to stay home due to COVID-19 coronavirus concerns. Let us younger people do the talking for the future of our country. And we have messages also via WhatsApp on 0244340437 on some of the issues that we've heard so far. This one says, before we get to some of these messages that you sent via WhatsApp, most of you are commenting on the PPP's statement asking that the compilation of the voters register is postponed as a result of the COVID-19.
One particular comment I saw that's intriguing. They asked us to ask the PPP if they will ask for a ban on the churches, mosques, and all other gatherings, because the principle there from the PPP is that if you did voters register, people will congregate, and that will spread the coronavirus.
And some are also asking if we would have to then postpone or call off the election 2020 if by then COVID is still an issue.
Well, I haven't thought about that.
We'll let you know on the election headquarters by then.
Of course. Talking about election headquarters, we had a song written, composed, and sung for us today. Guess where? From Cantamanton. And if you missed it...
What did you say?
Cantamanton.
Cantamanton.
Cantamanton. A.k.a. Canta.
Yes,
we're live from Canta.
Yes.
We wanted to connect with the people, and we did connect with the people, and they asked a lot of questions and expressed their views. That's where we found a gas cooker seller at Mokala, to be very specific, correct? And admonishing Ghanaian electorate to turn out and vote, coronavirus or not. Listen.